Good morning, gardening friends, and welcome back to the budget garden. We're still in the construction phase for the beginning of the year here. It's February 2nd at a little before 10 a.m. and we've already had a few surprises this year. This week, well, this is Southern California, and we're in the middle of a drought. Actually, all of California pretty much in the middle of a drought. There are some areas that get rain, but one of the problems in California is trying to move the water around, and they're actually talking now about taking water from some of the reservoirs here in Southern California and figuring out how to move it up to Northern California, where oddly enough that's where a lot of the rain comes down. So we have to be water wise. But what's interesting is in the last week we actually had some rain. Looked like it was just going to be barely any precipitation, but I suffered a little bit of damage here when some of the boxes got hit. Actually not so much damage to the boxes, but the materials I'm using to build the boxes. So I think the first order of business today is going to be to organize all of my wood, because we're looking at rain again today. Super Bowl Sunday. New York looks like it's going to be clear, so they're going to have a good game. But here in Southern California, at least this evening, we're looking at an 80% chance of rain. So, like I said, I think the first order of business today is going to be to organize all of the materials here on the patio, and maybe I'll see if I can get everything cut, so even if the rain causes me a little bit of a problem, I can still maybe build inside and keep things moving. So, on to work. Well, it finally happened. The corner unit started falling apart, so I'm back on the patio putting that back together. This will be a little bit more complicated glue up. I've got the tape on what's going to be the back side of this, because I'm going to pour the glue in from the other side. I've got tape running between boards, because there's basically 3 boards for the, this is all for the base, by the way. And then I've got pieces of tape running across, and I'll basically show you kind of what it looks like after I glue it up. Whew, okay, so there it is. I had to flip it over and get it over onto this table here. It's actually a little bit longer than the table, but I'm not going to worry about that. It's like 90% supported by the table. And then I use the pieces of tape running across to actually pull it together, so you can kind of see there's quite a bit of squeeze out in some places, not so much in others, but that's because this is all the old wood and it's got gaps, and it really, you know, if I had a joiner I could make everything nice and straight, but I don't. So anyway, that's that, and then I'll have to put the sides together and put this in after. Good afternoon, gardening friends. It's just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon on February 5th, and I haven't been able to get back to things. I've just been really busy last couple of days. I mean, I have been doing basically some of the stuff I was working on outside here. It got too cold, and so I moved the operation inside. But then I'm limited in how many parts I actually have and the place where I can actually put them together. The corner box is mostly back together. I'm just kind of filling it in with glue now. I've still got the first of 4 boxes for the special project I was working on. I got other things cut and glued together, bits and pieces. I'm getting it all together. Meanwhile, I haven't done a whole lot of watering because we get some rain here and there lately with the cold. If you look off in the distance, more to the left of your screen, you'll see the tomatoes, which the yellow pear seems to be doing better than the patio, which is almost completely dead. It's just desolation in the garden. Only a few plants have actually survived because it's getting really cold at night, and I think that's killing things off. But interestingly enough, if you look, you can see the more towards the middle and a little bit to the right is the Swiss chard, which seems to be doing better now than it ever has. So I have to kind of laugh at that. The lone survivor in the midst of a bunch of devastation, you can see, I mean, the patio is just a mess. But I will get back to it. I need to finish building a lot of these boxes before I can get around to putting them back up on the wall and then ultimately planting some seeds and getting the year going. So this may be the end of developments for this week. It's only Wednesday, but I'm feeling sick, so I may be down for a couple of days. We'll see. Until the next update. Good morning, gardening friends. It is now, let's see, February 7th at about 9:45, and this week's been a little sort of depressing in terms of the weather, but the building has continued inside. I had moved everything in there just because it was just been cold and rainy, and but the good news is that the forecast is now showing pretty much a solid week of increasing temperatures. That should be enough for me to be able to get some things to germinate. So the plan is to get some stuff planted today, some seeds planted, and get things moving. Let me just sort of show you the patio here. As you can see, there's not much up on the wall. I mean, there's things on the shelf in terms of my veggies. Those are, I don't know, I think the cold is really having an effect on things, and the basil really just didn't survive the transplant, but I did put some seeds in there a little while ago, so I can get back to watering on that. So the plan today is to try and fill in on the wall with the planters that have been rebuilt. There is one on the far end. Okay folks, it is now a little past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I have managed to do, I think, most of what I'm able to do outside for the day. I straightened up the tomato plants. Actually, it looks like I've got a tiny tomato on each one. The planters in front or behind that from here, in front from the outside, those are both together and planted. One of them's got transplants in it, the other one's got seeds. In all of the ones where I've planted seeds, I've planted nasturtium, marigold, and petunia, all of which should help with the bugs, the good bugs and the bad bugs. Moving over to the right, I pulled the basil because I don't think it's going to survive. It was so bad. But there's one tiny little sprout in there. I don't know what that is. I know I put some basil seeds in there, and I may put a few more, but I'll leave it for a day or two and see what happens. In front of that from here is the Swiss chard, which is just the one plant that's just held up so well. And to the right of all of that, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 10-inch planters. I really only need 3 of them. What I've got is, there was a 20-inch there that was, again, it looked like it was falling apart. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do a little reconstruction on it, but in the meantime I emptied it out. I've got it sitting in the sun to dry out, and I put 2 10-inch planters in its place since I had 2 extra 10-inch planters from all of the scrap wood. Those will eventually move somewhere else after I get the 20 in its place, but they fill it in and make it look right, or close to right. And like I said, what's planted in all of the 10-inch planters is the petunia, the marigold, and the nasturtium. So that's a bunch of work for the day. I still got to get to all the hanging planters and all the other areas around here, but the patio has been my sort of highest priority. I'll work on building some more boxes inside and getting them glued up, and we'll go from there. Good morning, my gardening friends. It's now Saturday, February 8th at a little after 9:30 in the morning. And as you can see, I've got a box in front of me here. That's the corner box that fell apart earlier this week. Admittedly, it was a little depressing towards the beginning of the week when I was like, oh, it's raining and my boxes are falling apart, but things are starting to come back together. And this one's finally ready to go back in place after I remove all that tape. So here we go. Okay folks, I think I may be mostly done for the day except for some planning and some cleanup, but just to document what I've managed to get done, I've refilled the corner box. That's got some petunias in it, it's got a geranium, it's got a marigold in there, and I've also planted some more seeds for more marigold and petunia, so we'll see what happens with that. The tomatoes are still looking really, really thick, but we'll keep trying, especially since I got a couple of tomatoes, one on each plant. To the right of that, you can sort of see the Swiss chard in the foreground on the right there. Just beyond that, that other planter, I had pulled the basil out of there, so I've now put some basil seed back in there. I also put some lettuce and black-seeded Simpson lettuce and some spinach. And I also threw a little bit of the spinach in with the Swiss chard. So we'll see. Those are basically my salad greens planters, and we'll see what happens with that. And that's it for planting. I need to do a little more watering, some cleanup, and I've still got boxes to build. But I think this coming week, in the next episode, I'll be able to actually start working on some of the hanging planters and some of the other stuff around here. So until the next episode, see you later.